Good evening, I'm John Carter. Welcome to Poland Daily. Robert Biedroń, the leader of the newly established Spring Party, has begun his tour of Poland. The former mayor of Słupsk, who yesterday announced that he will be running for Prime Minister, intends to promote his movement's programme during meetings in Poland's largest cities. A programme which is viewed by many political observers as nothing short of empty rhetoric.
Yesterday, the Spring Party held its very first convention in Warsaw, and today Robert Biedroń's movement begins its intense political marathon. Spring's first goal is to get into the European Parliament, then for its leader to become Prime Minister. It's here where we began a new chapter for Poland. I'm sorry I have a sore throat. I lost my voice after yesterday's convention, but I believe I gained the voice of support of millions of Poles. Even though Biedroń doesn't hesitate when it comes to criticizing the civic platform, politicians of the party, led by Grzegorz Schetyna, are still encouraging the Spring's leader to join them in a coalition against the currently ruling Law and Justice Party. We're not afraid that Biedroń's party could take some of our votes. We're only hoping that he will convince people who usually don't go to voting ballots at all to do the opposite this time. I'm also hoping that after the elections to the European Parliament, Mr. Biedroń will consider joining us in one big coalition. Following the grand inauguration of the Spring Party, many people wonder how they managed to acquire the necessary funds. The question is whether they got their funds from the subsidy of Janusz Palikot's party. Although Palikot's party itself didn't reach the electoral threshold of 5%, his political bloc, Green, got 8%. Because of that, Palikot received 2.8 million zloty a year from the subsidy. If the Spring Party took some of that money, then we're looking at a case of violating the regulations concerning the financing of political groups. However, Spring's leader says he has nothing to do with Janusz Palikot and that his party was financed with ordinary citizens' contributions. Don't hold on to the thought that we were financed by Soros or Palikot or anyone else. We got our funds from ordinary Nowaks and Kowalskis, who gave us many small but important contributions of 5, 50 or 100 zloty, and we managed to get enough. I know it may seem unusual because the Law and Justice and the Civic Platform could never count on such support, but we could and we did, and it was a success. Abortion rights up to 12 weeks of pregnancy, shutting down coal mines until the year 2035, putting taxes on Catholic Church collection boxes, or setting the minimal level of retirement pensions at 1,600 zloty are a few of the main postulates of Robert Biedroń. According to the Law and Justice MEP Zbigniew Kuźmiuk, these promises are impossible to keep. First of all, they made some really populist promises, which they followed with some quite controversial ideologically. The first real test for the Spring Party will be the European Parliament elections. After that, we will know more of Robert Biedroń's chances in the autumn race for the Prime Minister's seat.
The President of the European Council, Donald Tusk, has once again criticised the Polish government. This time, he has accused the ruling Law and Justice Party of spreading lies via state media. In a tweet, he also encouraged Poles to protest against the alleged practice. Meanwhile, government representatives have reminded Tusk that he promised not to use his position as President of the European Council as a tool for meddling in Polish internal politics.
Donald Tusk stated that the Polish government is spreading lies and paying for it with public money. The President of the European Council is also encouraging people to protest against this practice. Politicians from the ruling Law and Justice Party and the Kukiz 15 movement can't believe that Tusk decided on offering such a tweet, especially right now when protests in front of the headquarters of the public television channel TVP have intensified to such a degree that one of its journalists, Magdalena Ogórek, was attacked when trying to get to her car. On the other side, politicians of the liberal opposition parties tend to agree with the words of the former Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk. The campaign of lies organized by the government with the use of public money is an example of a repulsive and dangerous form of violence which we are all falling victim to. We should all, within legal boundaries, protest against it. Magdalena Ogórek has on many occasions attacked people without showing any mercy, and she has done so with the use of lies and slander. This is something that she isn't allowed to do. Prime Minister Tusk stated clearly that the citizens have the right to protest against such scandalous behavior as as long as we do it within the boundaries of law. We are unfortunately seeing a lot of such behavior in our public service media. I'm quite shocked by the fact that the politicians of the Civic Platform Party didn't condemn this attack. They throw around phrases like, if you call the tune, you pay the piper, de facto taking the blame off the attackers. They should be ashamed.
The inspectors sent to Poland by the European Commission to investigate the spoiled beef scandal started their work today. The scandal was revealed by investigative journalists who managed to secretly record inside a slaughterhouse, which illegally opened at night to produce beef products from diseased cows. The spoiled meat was exported to more than 11 EU countries, and the process of tracking its path is ongoing. Poland is the 7th largest beef producer in the EU, and the scandal is expected to cost the country tens of millions of dollars. There's been another round of huge protests against the socialist regime in Venezuela across the country over the weekend. An increasing number of countries now recognise the self-proclaimed interim president, Juan Guaidó. Today, many European countries, including Poland, voiced their support for Guaidó.
The European Parliament passed a resolution today in which Juan Guaidó is recognized as the new interim president of Venezuela. 439 MEPs voted for the resolution, while 104 were against it. It's a pleasure to announce that the European Parliament recognizes Mr. Guaidó as the legitimate interim president of Venezuela.
These are really critical moments for Venezuela. The crisis, unfortunately, is worsening by the day, and it risks destabilizing the entire region. Millions of people have already left the country, and many more are fleeing in these very hours. It is urgent to find a peaceful and democratic way out of the crisis, a solution where the people of Venezuela have the chance to determine their own future. Free and fair elections are the only way out of this crisis.
The European Union had earlier issued an ultimatum to the socialist regime headed by Nicolás Maduro to organize snap presidential elections in order to solve the country's political crisis. Meanwhile, massive street protests in support of the new interim president were organized over the weekend, not only in Venezuela but also across Latin America. We are hopeful that, thanks to what is going on right now in Venezuela, change will finally arrive and that the entire government will resign. We are here to fight for a better Venezuela. We participate in this protest march for the sake of our freedom. Juan Guaidó has been recognized as the interim president by USA, Canada, a majority of states in Latin America, Israel, Australia, and now also by the European Union.
Thank you very much for joining us here this evening at Poland Daily. I'm John Carter. Stay tuned after the break for Poland Daily Weather. That's followed by the business. Stay tuned after that for Poland Daily Culture, Travel and the History.